Hello, I'm Emma Hammett, the founder and CEO of First Aid for Life and onlinefirstaid.com. Today I want to talk to you about agonal gasps, what they are and why it's really important that you are able to recognise them. This morning I had a very sad message on one of my posts, and my post was about agonal gasps, and it was someone who had been with a friend of theirs during an exercise class, and the friend collapsed. And the first aider came along and was absolutely sure that the person was breathing and thought that they were having some sort of a seizure and consequently didn't start CPR. The paramedics arrived 7 minutes later and explained to the first aider that actually the person wasn't breathing and they really should have done CPR, and sadly the person died. They may have died anyway, but they weren't given the best chance. So I just want to explain what agonal gasps are and how they can be easily muddled with somebody that might be breathing, and why it's important to realise. Okay, so if you find someone's collapsed, you're going to check for danger, check for response, open the airway, and check for breathing. And you're looking for normal breathing, and you're looking for at least 2 breaths in a 10-second period. If you get less than 2 breaths, or the breathing appears to be unusual, not quite right, their colour is appalling, then it would be better to do CPR. If you're not sure, it's better to give CPR to someone that needs it than not to give CPR to someone that does. I mean, clearly, if you can recognise normal breathing, it makes life a lot easier to make that decision. And people might be moving even though they are unconscious and not breathing. If you Google Chris Solomon, cardiac arrest, Chris Solomon is an ambulance dispatcher on the helicopter. He was being filmed for Helicopter Heroes, and he happened to have a cardiac arrest whilst they were filming. And it's very interesting to see what happened. He initially had the signs of a heart attack. So if someone's having a heart attack, he would sit them in a lazy W position. We can cover that another time. And when he collapsed and was unconscious and not breathing, they obviously lay him on his back. We're checking that he was breathing, and at that point his arms raised up like that in a very strange way, and he appeared to be making some sort of sounds. He was unconscious and not breathing. They had the monitor on, so it was easier for them to tell, but also they're highly experienced and are able to assess whether or not they are unconscious and whether or not they're breathing normally. He was unconscious and not breathing, and because of the lack of oxygen in his brain, it caused this movement of his arms, and it can cause people to appear to fit or have a seizure as well. So the key thing to focus on is whether or not they are breathing normally. Now, agonal gasps as well, if you again Google Bondi Rescue agonal gasps, there's a very clear a video that shows what agonal gasps are like. When I was nursing, if somebody was not for resuscitation and we were sitting with them whilst they were slipping away, quite often they would do this strange sort of, called the death rattle or whatever, a horrible thing to be talking about now, but they'd do this sort of thing where they go, and then they do it again. That's not normal breathing. If you have less than 2 of those in a 10-second period, that person is not breathing normally and they should be resuscitated. The consequences of not resuscitating is that you are not giving that person the best chance. So, if the person is unconscious and not breathing normally, you would start resuscitation. And for an adult, you would start 30 compressions to 2 breaths. And for a baby or child, you would give 5 breaths first. I do hope that's been helpful to you. There's plenty more resources on our websites on firstaidforlife.org.uk and onlinefirstaid.com. So loads of free resources, But please, if you are in that situation where you are unsure if somebody is breathing or not breathing, and they have less than 2 normal breaths in a 10-second period, or less than 2 breaths in a 10-second period, then you should be commencing cardiopulmonary resuscitation, CPR. Thanks very much.